Have you ever felt like your presence started to fade just because you got older? Like suddenly, everything you say echoes into silence, as if your thoughts don't carry the same weight they once did? I ask you, have you ever wondered if aging means slowly disappearing from your own life? Because that's exactly what it feels like for me. One day, I was the one who held everything together. I managed a household, cared for my children, solved problems, remembered birthdays, cooked meals, offered advice, comforted tears. I was the first to wake up and the last to sleep. Always needed, always seen. And now it's as if the world gently, almost politely, pushes me aside and closes the door. No one says it out loud. They say they're just taking care of me, that I should rest now, that they'll handle it. But behind those words, there's a quiet message. You've done enough. Now let us take over. And in that takeover, something slips away. Not just responsibilities, but identity. Voice, value. I don't think my son even notices it. He believes he's protecting me, but each time he decides for me, without asking, each time he corrects my memory, changes my words, or says, "Mom, just let it go," I lose a little piece of myself. I wonder if he sees it, if he realizes that what he thinks is love sometimes feels like control, that what he thinks is help sometimes sounds like dismissal. You know, I used to walk to the store just for the joy of choosing my own fruit. I used to visit neighbors, sit on benches, talk about the weather and the past. I used to dress how I felt, speak when I wanted, and laugh without permission. Now, every decision is met with concern. Are you sure you should go out alone? Isn't it too cold for you? Why don't I do it for you instead? You might be thinking, but that's normal. It's just care. And maybe it is. Maybe it starts as care. But when care turns into a quiet cage, when protection feels like erasure, we stop feeling like people and start feeling like shadows of who we were. What no one tells you is that growing older can be a very lonely kind of silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because fewer people bother to listen. Not because you're fragile, but because others decide you are. And so I ask again, does aging mean disappearing? Or are we the ones slowly made invisible by those we love most? You might be surprised by what you'll hear next. Because this story, my story, is not just mine. It echoes through countless homes, in whispers and glances, in decisions made for our own good, and maybe, just maybe, you'll start to notice the subtle ways we steal voice from those who once spoke for us. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just a confession, it's a mirror. Now I want to go even deeper into this. I know I can't be the only one feeling this way. Maybe you're watching this and thinking of your own mother. Or maybe you're feeling it too, this slow fading of your voice, your choices, your presence. It's a quiet kind of grief, isn't it? The kind that doesn't shout but settles deep inside. And if something I've said resonated with you, if it stirred a memory, a truth, or even a silent question, I'd really love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me what stayed with you. Your words matter more than you think. When you write, when you click that like button, when you subscribe, it's not just helping this channel grow. You're helping this conversation reach the people who need it most. You're showing that these stories, these lives, still matter. That we still matter. And now, I want to go even deeper into something that most people never dare to say out loud. I used to be the one who held everything together. The meals, the birthdays, the bills, the comfort. I was the calm in every storm, the glue that kept everyone close even when things were falling apart. My voice had weight. My presence had purpose. I mattered, and now it feels like I'm in the way, like my existence became a burden no one wants to carry, but no one dares to say out loud. That's what hurts the most. It's not what's spoken, but what's not. The quiet shifting of glances when I walk into the room, the way my suggestions are gently ignored, or how they whisper about decisions that affect my life as if I weren't right there. I hear them. I see the pity dressed as patience, the silence wrapped as concern. But I was once the foundation, the pillar, the reason the roof didn't collapse. And that contrast, it breaks something inside. Because when you've spent your whole life building, protecting, loving, guiding, it's almost unthinkable to wake up one day and realize people now look at you as someone to manage. Like you're a fragile glass they don't know where to place. And what's worse is knowing that if you speak up, if you say this out loud, you're afraid they'll call it bitterness or say you're being dramatic. That's how invisibility works. It makes you question your own truth. But I know my worth, even if it's buried under years of caregiving and quiet sacrifice. I know the strength it took to raise a family, to get through days when there wasn't enough money, when hearts were broken, when dreams had to be delayed for someone else's needs. I never complained. I just did it. Because that's what love looked like back then. It was service without asking for recognition. It was giving without keeping score. And now, in this phase of life, when I should be able to rest into all that I gave, when I should feel surrounded by warmth and inclusion, it feels like I've been slowly pushed to the outer edge, like a photo that gets moved further and further back on the shelf until one day no one remembers who took it. There's a deep injustice in that, and I know I'm not alone. I know there are other mothers out there who feel this same shift, this same fading. It's not always on purpose. Sometimes it's just life moving too fast. Sometimes it's a culture that doesn't know how to honor aging, that celebrates youth and independence, but forgets who made those things possible in the first place. Sometimes it's children so afraid of losing us that they try to control us instead. But sometimes, just sometimes, it's fear disguised as love and control disguised as care. Now I want to go even deeper into this truth, this hard, unspoken reality that many families sweep under the rug because it's uncomfortable to name. But naming it is the first step to healing. Comment below. This makes sense to me if at any point these words touched your heart. There was a day it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it changed everything. It started like any other morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping my tea, thinking about calling my friend Marta to invite her over for lunch. We hadn't seen each other in months, and I missed her laughter, the way we used to share stories, memories, and silence without pressure. But just as I reached for the phone, he walked in. My son, my only child. He didn't even glance at me when he said it. You probably shouldn't have anyone over today. It's better this way. You need rest. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a conversation. It was a quiet command masked as care. And something inside me froze. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words got stuck in that space between confusion and realization. That space where you start to understand that your voice is no longer part of the decision-making process, that your opinion is now something to be managed, not honored. That day wasn't about lunch or Marta. It was about the line that had been crossed, one I hadn't noticed before. The slow shift from mutual respect to silent obedience. From we to he decides. I didn't argue. I put the phone down and nodded. But in that moment, something deeper cracked inside me. Something sacred. You see, when you're a mother, especially for as long as I've been, you get used to sacrificing, to putting others first, to letting go of control so your child can grow. But you never expect that one day, the child you raised with love and tenderness will stop seeing you as an adult, as a whole person, with thoughts and needs and dreams. You never imagine becoming background noise in your own life. That was the day I realized he no longer listened. Not really. He heard me, sure. He responded, but the way you respond to someone who's been labeled too tired, too fragile, too much. And that kind of dismissal, it doesn't scream, it whispers. It slowly rewrites the rules of your relationship. It teaches you to shrink, to stay quiet, to be easy. And what makes it harder is knowing that he doesn't mean harm, that he believes he's doing the right thing, that his intentions are rooted in love. But love without respect isn't care, it's control wrapped in good intentions. And when your autonomy is chipped away piece by piece, it doesn't matter how softly it happens. The result is the same. You lose yourself. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Because behind every moment like that, there's a web of silent stories. Stories of women who built their homes with bare hands and open hearts, only to be pushed out of their own narratives. Stories of identity fading in the name of protection. Stories of well-meaning sons and daughters who unintentionally become gatekeepers of their mothers' lives. Comment here. That moment changed everything if you've ever experienced or witnessed something like this. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because the line between care and control isn't always sharp. Sometimes it's soft, blurred, almost invisible. And that's what makes it so dangerous. You don't wake up one morning and say, I'm being controlled. No, it creeps in quietly, disguised as concern, wrapped in warm words like just trying to help, or you don't need to worry about that anymore. And before you realize it, your decisions are no longer yours. They've been gently replaced by someone else's. I remember when he took away my car keys. He said it was for my safety. And maybe it was. Maybe I was slower. Maybe my eyesight wasn't the same. But the way it was done, it wasn't a conversation. It was a decision already made. He handed me the conclusion, not the choice. And when I looked at him, expecting to be heard, to at least speak for myself, I saw it in his eyes: pity, not respect, not curiosity, just a soft kind of dismissal that said, I know better now. That kind of love is complicated. Because it's love, yes, but it comes with an unspoken condition. That I surrender. That I give up the wheel, literally and metaphorically. That I shrink into a smaller, quieter version of myself so he can feel like he's doing the right thing. It made me question myself. Am I selfish for wanting freedom? Am I being unreasonable for missing my independence? Or worse, am I becoming a burden without realizing it? This is the truth most people don't say out loud. The truth behind so many elderly women's silence. We aren't always being cared for. Sometimes we're being softened, silenced, managed, as if age strips us of the right to participate in our own lives. And the world nods along because they're just trying to protect you. But who protects us from disappearing? Every time I hesitated to speak up, guilt rushed in. He's doing his best, I'd think. He works so hard. He means well. But meaning well doesn't erase the feeling of being trapped in a life where decisions are made for you in the name of love. That's the invisible prison. The well-decorated, polite, and padded version of control that no one questions because it wears a smile. There were moments I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. I used to be strong, loud, capable. I used to host dinners, give advice, organize events. I used to move through the world like I belonged in it. Now, even asking to visit a friend feels like a negotiation, like I need permission for my own happiness. And what's worse, I started thanking him for it, thanking him for being so good to me, even when what I really felt was small. That's what emotional dependence does. It rewrites your story until you forget you had a pen in your own hand. The most painful part is knowing this happens to so many others, so many mothers, grandmothers, women who once carried their families, now being carried like fragile objects, not because we are incapable, but because society quietly decided that aging equals irrelevance. Comment here. That sounds like my story too, if any part of this hits close to home. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there's a truth that rarely gets spoken aloud, a truth that sits heavy on my chest every single day. I still have a mind. I just don't have a voice anymore. That sentence haunts me sometimes. It follows me through quiet afternoons when I'm left alone with my thoughts, and no one stops to ask what they are. The world assumes that because my hair has grayed, my ideas have faded. That because I'm slower with my steps, I must be confused inside. But let me tell you something. With all the clarity I still hold, I know exactly what's happening around me. I see it, I feel it, and I remember. There's this unspoken assumption that old age equals incapacity, that once you pass a certain number, your opinion turns optional. Your desires become background noise. Your decisions are gently overridden for your own good. I live with that every day, surrounded by choices made in my name, but without my consent. Not because I asked for help, not because I failed to understand, but simply because I am older now, and that, in their eyes, is enough. It's a dangerous mindset. This idea that age steals wisdom, that aging is a slow erasure of relevance. When did we start believing that experience should be silenced instead of honored? I've lived. I've raised children. I've buried people I loved. I've worked, struggled, celebrated, and survived. And now I'm expected to sit quietly in the corner while life continues without me, as if I no longer deserve a say. This isn't about rebellion or pride. It's about the right to still be part of the world I helped build. I'm not asking to run marathons or climb mountains. I'm asking to be heard when I speak, to be asked what I think, to be seen as someone who still has dreams, questions, and opinions worth listening to. You see, the impact isn't just emotional, it changes your entire inner world. When people stop asking for your input, you start questioning your value. When they stop waiting for your answers, you begin to wonder if your voice ever mattered in the first place. And that's where the transformation begins, not in the body, but in the spirit. The quiet unraveling of identity. The mental shift from I'm needed to I'm tolerated. That's a wound that doesn't bleed, but it aches deeply. It makes you second guess everything you once believed about your place in the family, in society, in your own home. You begin to shrink little by little until the version of yourself that once stood tall becomes a shadow moving silently in the background. And no one seems to notice the fading because they've grown used to your silence. But I haven't lost my voice. It's still here, waiting, buried beneath years of well-intentioned overprotection, hidden behind polite smiles and phrases like "don't worry about it, Mom," or "let me handle that." What they don't realize is that every one of those comments, however gentle, chips away at the sense of agency I worked a lifetime to earn. I'm not confused. I'm not out of touch. I'm not asking for control. I'm asking for connection, for mutual respect, for the recognition that I still have value, even if I can't do everything I once could. My head is clear. My thoughts are intact. My memories, my beliefs, my humor, my fears, they're all alive and well. But my voice, that's what's been taken from me silently, without consent. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Not the aging itself, but the way the world responds to it. As if getting older means becoming invisible. As if wisdom earned over a lifetime should be put away in a drawer and forgotten. Comment here. I still have a voice if this speaks to something you felt or witnessed. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because what truly breaks a person isn't always loud or violent. Sometimes it's quiet. It's the kind of pain that arrives with the sound of silence. When the phone doesn't ring, when the door doesn't knock, when the voices fade, and no one seems to notice that you haven't spoken all day. It's waking up in the morning and realizing there's no one to say good morning to. It's making coffee for one, again, sitting at the same kitchen table where laughter used to echo, and now only the ticking of the clock fills the room. Time passes differently in solitude. It becomes heavier, slower, each minute a quiet reminder that the world has moved on without you. I remember the days when people needed me, when my name was called from different corners of the house, when my hands were busy and my heart was full. Back then, I was the center of something. Now I feel like a forgotten piece of furniture, still in the room, but unseen. And the thing is, I didn't choose to be alone. It was decided for me. You should rest, they said. It's better this way, they said. At first, I believed it. Maybe I did need some rest. Maybe it was okay to step back. But stepping back turned into being pushed aside. And before I could understand what was happening, the visits stopped. The invitations faded. My world became smaller until it fit inside four walls. No one asks what it feels like to be left behind slowly. There's no ceremony, no announcement. It's not one big heartbreak, but 1,000 little ones. Like when I hear about a neighbor's birthday party I wasn't invited to, or when my old friend moved away and no one thought to tell me, or when I try to speak and someone talks over me, not out of rudeness, but because they've already decided what I need. This loneliness, it's not just about being alone. It's about being erased. My voice doesn't echo because there's no one to listen. My presence doesn't register because no one's looking anymore. The most painful part, they all believe they're doing the right thing. That keeping me quiet, still, disconnected, is kindness, but I feel it deep in my chest. I feel the ache of invisibility, the way it slowly drains your spirit, the way it makes you question your place in this world. I never thought aging would come with this much stillness, not just in my body, but in everything, in the absence of laughter, in the rooms that stay clean because no one comes over, in the stories that stay untold because no one asks. There are moments I walk past the mirror and barely recognize the woman staring back, not because of the wrinkles or the gray hair, but because of the silence in her eyes, the stillness that was never part of her before, the quiet that doesn't feel peaceful, but lonely. She's there, waiting to matter again, waiting for someone to see her. Now I carry a longing that can't be spoken in casual conversation, a hunger for warmth, for touch, for relevance, for someone to ask me how I really am, and stay long enough to hear the answer. That's the part they don't teach you about getting older. That the hardest thing isn't the physical pain, but the emotional exile. So when you see someone like me, a mother, a woman, a soul who once danced and dreamed and gave everything, don't look through her. Look at her. Ask her something. Invite her back into the world she helped create. Comment here. This silence hurts more than it shows if you've ever felt the weight of being quietly pushed away. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there's something we all need to say out loud, something too many people still whisper or avoid altogether. Mothers are not disposable. We don't expire when our hair turns gray or when our pace slows down. Aging doesn't erase our essence, and it certainly doesn't cancel out the lives we've built, the love we've given, or the wisdom we carry. You see, there's a dangerous narrative floating around, one that quietly creeps into everyday choices and family dynamics. It tells people that once a woman becomes a certain age, a mother, a grandmother, someone no longer productive in the eyes of the world. She should step aside, make room, keep quiet, be grateful just to be included from time to time. But we are not relics to be honored once a year with flowers and then forgotten the rest of the time. We are living, breathing stories. We are the thread in the fabric of every family. Our laughter still echoes through memories. Our hands have fed, held, healed, and carried generations. And yet, somewhere along the way, society began treating us like we should fade into the background, like aging means vanishing. I've felt that shift, not all at once, but in subtle, sharp moments. When conversations begin without me, decisions are made for me, and my opinions are brushed aside with that sweet, condescending tone. Don't worry about it, Mom. We've got it. As if I've become a burden to be managed, instead of a woman who once managed everything. It's not just about being heard. It's about being acknowledged. Seen. Valued. My thoughts still matter. My feelings still run deep. My memories are full of lessons. I don't want to be pitied. I want to be part of the world I helped build. And the irony is, the very people who now see me as too fragile were once completely dependent on me. I carried their fears. I guided their steps. I believed in their future when they couldn't see it yet. And I did it without expecting applause, just the respect that comes from love and mutual regard. That's all I ask now, to be treated not as a shadow of who I was, but as the whole woman I still am. This isn't just about me. This is about every mother, every aging parent whose voice is being softened until it disappears. We are not decorations in the background of our children's lives. We are part of the architecture that holds the whole house up. If that makes some people uncomfortable, then maybe it's time to ask why, and to finally start rewriting that story. The truth is, the value of a person isn't measured by how fast they move or how much they earn. It's in the depth of their soul, the strength of their love, the clarity of their wisdom. That doesn't fade with age. It deepens. It becomes more sacred, but only if it's recognized. So if you've ever looked at your own mother and thought, even for a second, that she's become too much or too sensitive or too slow, maybe pause and ask yourself, what did she go through to become who she is today? And what are you missing by not really listening to her? I still have dreams. I still have love to give. I still want to belong. And I don't think that's asking too much. Aging isn't a punishment. It's a continuation of growth, of presence, of purpose. And it deserves dignity, not silence. Comment here. Aging deserves dignity if you believe that no mother should ever feel forgotten just because time has passed. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. because there's something else I need to say. Something that's been sitting in my chest like a weight I never asked to carry. It's about how silence is no longer just a lack of sound. It's a space where too many of us older mothers end up, not because we don't have stories to tell, but because somewhere along the line, people stopped believing our stories mattered. I see it in the way conversations shift when I walk into the room, from curiosity to caution, as if my thoughts might disrupt the flow of what's more relevant. I feel it in the way people nod without really listening, their eyes darting to their phones while I try to finish a sentence. And I notice it most when I speak and no one responds. When my voice echoes back at me like it was never heard in the first place. This is not just aging. This is erasure. There's a truth hidden beneath all the polite smiles and half-hearted reassurances that say, "We care," but show no proof of it. That truth is this: when people talk about caring for the elderly, they often mean managing us, not respecting us. They talk about love, but practice control. And they do it so well that even we start to question our own right to speak up. But I've learned something, and it took me a long time to say it with confidence. I'm not here to fade quietly. I'm not here to take up less space. I'm here to live fully, emotionally, authentically. That means having the courage to remember that my presence still has power, that my feelings are still valid, that I, too, deserve the space to evolve, to heal, to dream. What we often call respect in old age is just carefully wrapped dismissal. It's not enough to hold the door open for me if you're not going to let me inside the conversation. It's not kindness to silence me for my own good. And it's not love if I have to shrink myself to keep it. Somewhere in this journey, I began to understand that being quiet doesn't mean being at peace. There's a big difference between choosing stillness and being forced into it. My soul still stirs. My mind still searches for connection, and my heart still beats with a desire to belong, not as a token of nostalgia, but as a living part of the now. This channel, this story, it's not just mine. It's for anyone who's ever felt like their truth was too inconvenient, too emotional, too complicated to be heard. It's for every daughter, son, mother, and father who wonders what happened to the mutual respect that once bound us. Because respect shouldn't have an expiration date. And love, real love, makes room for voices of all ages. So if you're here, still listening, still feeling something stirring in your chest, then maybe you've been holding in a story of your own. Maybe you've watched someone you love grow older and didn't know how to keep the connection alive. Or maybe you're the one who's aging and wondering when exactly you started to feel invisible. Whichever place you're in, I just want to say, you're not alone in this. And this space, this community, is where we can start saying out loud what too many of us have been keeping quiet for too long. Let's turn our silence into a bridge. Let's rebuild what age has tried to isolate. Let's remember that dignity, voice, and belonging are not privileges. They're our rights. Comment here. Respect shouldn't expire. If this resonates with your heart, I want to know I'm not the only, and if you stayed with me all the way to this moment. Thank you, truly. That already tells me that something in this story touched a part of you. Maybe it echoed something you've seen, lived, or quietly carried in your own heart. If it did, I'd love to know. Write in the comments. This message was for me. It helps more than you imagine. If you felt understood here, if this space made you reflect or breathe a little deeper, consider subscribing. This channel was created for conversations like this, real, human, and necessary. And your presence here tells me they matter. Oh, and don't forget to leave a like if something in this message spoke to you. It's a simple gesture, but it keeps this community growing and gives these voices the space they deserve.